So for the past 2.5 years, with maybe a few months break, maybe about, wait, Rocky, about 7 months away from here, 8 months away from here, I've been treating dogs with Simparica Bravecto and X-Guard. Dogs like Rocky here, I'm just keeping an eye on them. He's a stray, he's a nice Pomeranian. He gets a bit feisty with food, yes you do, fed your chicken. And this one here was completely bald before, but now she's looking great, and she's sterilised. He's not sterilised yet. And then we have a little one, Lily, who's very shy, but she's starting to enjoy attention. And her skin's pretty good, but she's been sick lately, so I don't want to give her too much medicine at the moment. And the trick with skin medicine is to buy the biggest tablet and to chop it down to size, because it's about the same price for the small tablet as it is for the large tablet. There's stray street dogs everywhere, and the main issue in Bali, and the main issue that they have is skin and worms. They can't get the nutrition. Rocky, wait. They can't get the nutrition from their food if they're full of intestinal worms, and they can't get any peace. They can't get any sleep. They scratch the skin off themselves. They get ostracized they'll get kicked out by a local family who don't want to catch something from them. They can't get enough sleep to recover, and that's the major issue with the dogs. Most of the dogs, like these guys here, are living in a bus station. I'll just show around here. So they've been dumped by people for whatever reason. Rocky had a bad leg, but it's recovered. This little black one, they like to dump the little black females, unfortunately, which is very sad. And this one was dumped with 2 puppies, but she was sterilised. Hopefully someone took the puppies. I think one might have been killed by a car. But basically, by helping dogs like this, they can have a pretty good life because they have a free rein. So it looks quite sad for people looking in on it, but in my experience, a lot of these dogs are happier than pets because they have their friends, they have their enemies, they have their territory, they have their doggy friends and enemies, and they have a pretty good time. But if they're constantly itchy, and especially if they're catching it from the mother and they're itchy their whole lives, they can't get very much peace, and they also get less food, less attention. The major dog rescue organisations, I mean, I'm not exactly sure what they do, but I know that local women and a couple of local guys and a lot of foreigners here will help dogs in their local area. I know dog rescue shelters are good at collecting money, but they don't seem to do anything for the local dogs. And I've been on the streets for a total of about 2 years, and I know that for a fact, unless they're doing something that they're not advertising, they're not talking about, they're not releasing. It seems like they're just collecting money for their organisation for a long-term lease in places like Thailand, Indonesia, where they couldn't otherwise buy property and they would struggle with their visas. And it's perfectly obvious to me that basically nothing is being done, bar maybe rabies vaccination programs, which takes absolutely no time or resources. So you don't need massive fleet of vehicles, massive properties, all that. And a lot of the dogs that end up in shelters end up in cages. And dogs like this are used to doing whatever they want. And it's extremely stressful for a street dog who's used to their own freedom. I mean, okay, it's not exactly pretty, but their back garden is huge. And so I've been slowly educating people through Facebook here on how to do it and how to take responsibility for the dogs in their own area, rather than waiting for an organisation who don't do anything anyway to come and do something. And a lot of the time I find that even the existence of those organisations is enough for locals just say, oh yeah, such and such organisation exists. And I say to them, yeah, but they're 15 kilometres away and your dog has no hair and is tearing the skin off itself. So how is that useful? Why is it relevant? And so my goal is to educate people on what can be done. Even poor people can put coconut oil on the dog's skin and make a massive difference. They could wash it, put coconut oil on the skin. That would probably sort out the problem close enough to it if they did a little bit regularly. So everyone can do a bit. And rich foreigners over here who are supposedly practicing spiritual practices, I haven't seen much evidence of that, but they might get off their arses and help the starving dogs outside their house. Maybe they might see that as more beneficial spiritual practice than the nonsense I see here. So there has been a good uptake on it, and quite a lot of people have done it on a smaller scale. What I'm doing, basically, get a skin medicine. Simparica is the best because it's cheap here. It's about €6 a tablet. Do about 4 to 5 dogs that size. She's in around 12 kilograms. The tablet covers 40 to 60 kilograms. It's got a very high tolerance for double dosing and stuff like that, and you can just give it the lower end, because the split is like the lower tablet is 20 to 40 kilograms. There's a huge difference in dog size between a 20 kilogram dog and a 40 kilogram dog, or a 10 kilogram dog and a 10 kilogram large sort of mixed pom and a 20 kilogram German Shepherd. So you got a huge margin for error with the medicines. And also the goal is to tell everybody what's going on with it, so they know the dog's treated, but also to encourage them to do it. There's also a couple of groups. I set up the group Ubu Dog Treatment Reports on Facebook and made it private for the safety of the dogs, because there is a little bit of dog meat trade that goes on here. And there's also stray treatment reports. I think it's now called Stray Treatment Reports South Bali, that a pal of mine set up, and he's one of the top 3 dog rescuers here in Bali. He's awesome, but he does more sort of intensive stuff, helps no hoper dogs who've lost limbs and stuff like that, which is pretty amazing. But the goal of what I'm doing is to get everybody to do a little bit. If they help 4 dogs outside their place, if they help 40 dogs on the street, everyone can do it. There's no reason not to do it. So the benefits of that is it educates the whole population, and it also hopefully has the effect of improving the standard of welfare for dogs, which currently is not happening at all. It's not being done, and people will say sterilizations is the answer. Well, it's not. Sterilization is not the answer if you've got no hair and you're tearing the skin off yourself because of the itch, because scabies are burrowed under your skin. In that case, skin medicine is the answer. And it's the street feeders and people like myself who bring dogs to get sterilized, because we know the dogs. We get to handle the dogs. That's why it's so important that a dog like Lily, I think she's headed off there, but a dog like her, only the last 2 days I've been able to handle her. If you can't handle her, you can't sterilize her. And so that's the importance of this work. Plus, a lot of people see it happening, and as a foreigner here, they just assume you're a millionaire. So if they see somebody that they think is a millionaire, which unfortunately is not the case, but if they see someone who they think is a millionaire helping the dogs, it hopefully sets a reasonable example maybe for how they treat their dog. And by me having the medicines, it allows me to then have conversations with people who do have the money, that tell them what the medicine is and put the onus on them to pay for the medicine. And so it wasn't my idea, but the reason I did it is because it's the smartest thing to do. So I can't take any credit for the idea, but I've treated almost 3,000 dogs now at this stage, and it is making a massive difference, and a lot of people are doing it. And as I said before, the fact that anybody can do this at any scale will actually raise the welfare of dogs if people have the decency to do it for the dogs outside their area. The rescue organisations, I mean, there's a place called Villa Kitty, which is amazing. That's the gold standard, you know, and there's a few places that do reasonable, limited stuff, but they're not having much of an impact overall for the street dogs. And I saw that because I've driving long distances every day here, and I would see the dogs around those rescue organisations in terrible shape. And this is over-the-counter medicine. It's simple, it's quick, it's easy, it's effective, and you can see the before and afters, especially if you go onto Ubu Dog Treatment Reports. Just join there, I'll let you in, and when I see it, and just take a look at before and after photos, take a look at featured posts. I mean, this is just basic standard care. The rescue organisations should be there for dogs who are getting paralysed in accidents, dogs who are getting limbs broken, and then maybe they can be more effective. But for whatever reason, they're not at the moment, and this is effective. And so I spend all my own money on the food. I do it as a hobby. There's no work, there's no company sort of involved in it or anything like that. It's just something that I enjoy doing. And any money that I can get for medicine allows me to do it more effectively, because when you're doing it in those kind of numbers, it starts to become fairly big. And also I publish my statistics, unlike the rescue organisations, which I think is the logical thing to do, because I want people to know what I'm doing and I want to encourage other people to do it. So it raises the question as to, I mean, if they're collecting money, what are they doing with it? And they're certainly not giving it to the local Balinese women and the few local Balinese guys who do it. So I don't know exactly where it's going, but maybe if you look at the properties that cost a few million, you might see, and look at the state of the street dogs around the expensive property. So hopefully this will reform things a little bit. Everybody does their little bit. And I've been fairly vocal on Facebook. I've been trying to stay off Facebook. I was off in Thailand for 2 months. And I've been trying to stay off Facebook because it's a wreck ahead, because I see the ethical standard towards the street dogs here is appalling. But it's generally been foreign women actually who've made the difference, and a lot of local women doing a lot of good stuff, and they just raise money from tourists, people like myself, who see them going around and doing good work, and who'll buy them bags of food. And it's very stressful for somebody who's willing to help all the dogs that they come across who need help when they can't raise money for food, for medicine, for stuff like that. So what I'm hoping is that I'll be able to get money for medicine and continue what I'm doing. I'm only going to stay on another few months, but it'd be nice to be able to stop and help every single dog rather than driving by. And for every single dog that's helped, there's 10, 20, 50 people to see, because the streets are busy and people ask questions, and you meet other foreigners who are here on longer tours and stuff like that, and they will help. They want to help. They just don't know what an entry point is to it. And also then there are some sterilization programs which I can then give information on to owners, to neighbours. A lot of the dogs have a compound to go, or they have a place like this where they're safe and happy, but they don't get enough food, and they don't, or maybe get the right food. They might get white rice, and they don't get the basic medicines. And as soon as they do, it becomes like this, a very happy, friendly, sweet dog. And so it's an easy win. And anybody who'd like to do it themselves, even better. You know, if you're going out visiting countries where this is a problem, do it yourself. Just get the biggest tablet of either Simparica, NexGard, or Bravecto. I find that Simparica is, for the price, it's far more effective than the others. Bravecto is more expensive, but it's easier to divide, and it lasts 3 months, so you can then divide it a third more. NexGard I don't find so effective, but NexGard's grand for pets. I think maybe they feel it's a bit more gentle on the dog system or something. I don't know. It's just not very scientific, but that's what I've heard. But and then I use ivermectin to deworm the dogs. Ivermectin is extremely cheap, but it's not. It doesn't cover tapeworms, but the prevalence of tapeworms in Bali, something in street dogs, at least in studies they've done, has been found to be less than 1%, where it's up around 38% for hookworms, which ivermectin deals with just fine, and at least allows the dogs to get enough of a break that they can get nutrition from their food. So it's an easy win. It's something people can do anywhere. I mean, I remember when I was first here, I thought, oh, well, you know, I was only here for 2 weeks, so what am I going to do? I remember the thought, I was only it was maybe 12 years ago, something like that. But anyway, I remember thinking, oh, if I feed the street dogs, they'll just multiply. You know, I mean, I wasn't in a position to do very much anyway, but I do remember thinking that myself, and I've always loved dogs. Or people would think a very simplistic solution, oh, it's just about sterilization, just sterilize a lot of them. I mean, you can't really say what the solution is until you've gone out and helped hundreds of dogs or thousands of dogs. Then you understand that this solution is a lot more simple, just basic first aid with what they need. And sterilizations also cost a lot, and a vet would be €100 with a local vet that people who have experience here can get it done for €20. And to keep in mind, they're the people who are actually doing it. You hear lots of nonsense about maintaining the Bali breed. Bali dogs are the oldest dogs in the world. I mean, I don't know exactly how you're going to do that, doggy eugenics or something. You know, I mean, the dogs are breeding wildly, and then they do sterilization days that are sponsored by charities, and they forbid breed dogs from being sterilized. So I don't know exactly how that is. That seems to be the exact opposite. So when I hear this nebulous kind of nonsense and no statistics from rescue organizations, it makes it important for me to point out how dogs can actually be helped quick and easy. Takes a minute, the dogs are fine, they get all their hair back. Once they have all their hair back, they have natural protection from skin parasites. I also take around the scissors and a knife, like a pen knife with me. I cut off collars that are too tight. They put out, you know, I don't even go into some of the nonsense that I've seen. And I suffer in a pause, cut off mats and dogs that have, especially Shih Tzus here, mat up really quick into big dreads. It's extremely bad for their skin. Check that the dogs have access to clean water, check what kind of food they're getting, give encouragement to people to give them a little bit more food. When the dog looks good, they feel proud of it, and all that kind of stuff. And this is what's done when when you're out on the street, when you're out on the front line actually doing something. You see what the solution to improving the standard of welfare. And what I've seen so far in the rescue and what I've heard is basically nonsense, and it's ineffective. And that's why I've decided to do this. Plus, I love it. It's great fun. I get to meet beautiful dogs like this. I think Rocky's leg that he realizes isn't getting any more chicken now. But I have loads of doggy pals. I know all the dogs around the area, in the area I used to live. And it's great fun, and I feel good about myself because I see them having a nice life. And I see people giving them more attention and giving them more food. It's just an easy win. I just can't drive by it anymore. It's, I think Bali's got one of the worst prevalences of skin parasites for dogs. And so, but it does exist everywhere, and people aren't doing anything. And even coconut oil is super effective against it. But to just try to shift that attitude that, like, just be generous to the dog, just be kind. It only takes a minute and it doesn't cost very much. And the medicine is extremely affordable for locals because they can split it. Most of them will have 2 dogs in their house. The neighbours have 2 dogs. If they wanted to, they could just buy one tablet between 2 houses or 3 houses, and it makes it very affordable. But at least I make sure that they know how to do it, and a lot of people get it. So that's basically it. And you can see on my other videos how simple it is to do. My videos aren't very good because I'm not running around, what would I call it, logging my life or whatever, or recording my life. I just want to point out to people how simple this is to do. And I will probably start posting again on Facebook. And what I would do is every 500 or 1,000 dogs, I put up posts and I try to be nice, or I try to be a little bit critical or whatever, just to try to motivate people to do a little bit more. Because I think if you're going to do any spiritual practice, starting off with kindness and generosity is a must. It's hard to bypass that. And like I said, Bali's quite famous for that. But the levels of kindness and generosity that's extended towards the street dogs is getting better, but needs a lot of improvement. Okay, so I hope some of that information is helpful. And if anyone has any questions, leave questions in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer them. And yeah, most important thing is if you do go to Asia, you do go to a place where this is a problem, please do it yourself. I find the oral medicine is more effective than something like Frontline, which has fibrillin or some word like that. It doesn't seem to be very effective against skin parasites for dogs. So, like I've already mentioned in the video, Simparica, Perfecto, and NexGuard, and on the GoFundMe, any money, I'll always, if I get a donation of €20, I always make sure I spend €21. I always spend over whatever I get, and only on medicine. I pay for the food. So if anyone feels motivated to do something nice for Christmas for the Bali dogs, I would accept a gift on their behalf with gratitude, and be happy to distribute it to them right away, and record my photos on the 2 Facebook groups I talked about, Ubud Dog Treatment Reports and Stray Treatment Reports South Bali, I think it's called. Okay, thank you.